Welcome back to another adventure. I'm out with Paige for a few nights. We're backcountry camping in our hot tent. We're planning to eat some good food and do some ice fishing, so this is going to be a good adventure. Stay tuned. We snowshoed in yesterday and spent the night. Last night was pretty cold, very breezy, there were snow squalls, so it made for some interesting weather, but we have a nice campsite that's kind of tucked in the trees here, and we were sheltered from a lot of the wind gusts yesterday.
Hey guys, there's always work to be done in the winter, that's for sure.
Paige was just collecting some firewood and she's stoking the stove right now, filling up our water bottles because our water just boiled. Lots of water. Well, the weather has changed. The snow is coming down and it's starting to accumulate everywhere. We're camped on the side of this small lake. We've never been here before, it's our first time, and we have no idea what types of fish are in here. Nothing really. I checked fish online before coming, but there wasn't much information. It's not stocked. It's not deep enough for lake trout, but I'm hoping there's maybe some brook trout in here. Paige is out there jigging right now. Let's go and see her. How's it fishing?
No luck. Doesn't seem like good weather for fishing.
No, it doesn't. Chisels over there. The weather's pretty nasty right now, so Paige is gonna head back to the tent to warm up. She's been out here jigging for a bit. I'm gonna take her spot. And yeah.
I'm gonna make some soup and grilled cheese.
Which is gonna be tasty. But yeah, so I'm gonna jig in the hole she was fishing for a little bit longer until I get cold. But over at this other hole, I have the jaw jacker set up. Not too far away, and hopefully I can get something on that. I've got a Swedish pimple gold with a long worm that will hopefully entice some brook trout. This is a nice spot where we are. There's some nice hills over in the far end, and we're not too close to any snowmobile trails, which is nice. So it's a little bit quieter. On the way into this lake yesterday, it was kind of interesting. We came across 3 moose beds. Well, we assumed they were moose beds. There were big indents in the snow, or divots, that were about moose sized, and there was lots of prints around, so it's pretty clear that there's been one moose that's been sleeping in these hills. Nothing yet. I'm about ready to call her quits and head to the tent. This isn't ideal fishing weather right now. Pretty good cup of coffee there, pressmates. We packed them in this. 6 eggs. We've been putting all our food in these 2 cooler bags, and then we also added some extra foam on the sides and on the bottom for more insulation. A little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Eggs are done. Pretty good breakfast. Eggs, bacon, and toasted bagels with butter. So I thought I'd show you our DIY camp lantern. Basically, we just have my small lithium powered Olight flashlight, which is a very good flashlight. And then the diffuser, light diffuser, is simply 2 flower pots. This one I just cut off the top part of it, and they nest inside each other. The rope goes through the bottom like so, and then up through these holes like so. Tie a reef knot in it, doesn't matter, doesn't have to be anything fancy, but there you go. That's the light diffuser. Then I have the rope on the top. The clip on my flashlight just clips to that little piece of paracord. And just a carabiner off the lanyard. And we have a perfect lantern. I'll turn it on. Works really well and lasts a very long time because it's lithium powered, which is important in the winter.
Less than $1.
Yeah, less than $1. So, great. And for packing up, it just goes inside of each other and weighs next to nothing. Just stopped here at our water hole to pick up the chisel, so we put it in with the sled, and we're going out for a little day trip. We're gonna hike around the lake and see what's good, and we're probably gonna chisel another hole somewhere and do a little bit of fishing. We've made it to the end of the lake. The outflow is just that away. We're gonna chisel a hole here and do some fishing. We've been getting used to using the chisel, our 2-piece chisel from Lure of the North, but it's much nicer on the toboggan. Fits much nicer than the auger. And you can do bigger holes.
Just a little heavier.
A little heavier. Oh, it's pretty soft. And you just have to always use the lanyard so that you don't lose the chisel. The ice has some crappy layers, like this top one, as you can see, it's just going right through. And we've learned you want to start wider because the hole always gets smaller the deeper you go normally. I was getting tired and warm, so Paige is taking over and finishing off the hole.
So I find with using the ice chisel instead of the auger, you kind of get to see the layers of snow and ice and slush that build up on the lake better. So here we have maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches of snow, and then a layer of thin ice, also probably only 1 inch or 2, and then probably about 10 inches of slush under that. And then underneath that slush is another layer of solid ice that's probably 6 inches thick. So that's pretty interesting. If this first thin layer of ice wasn't holding us, we'd be swimming through slush on this lake. Very thankful that we aren't. I just let my lure hit the bottom, and it's a good depth. I think it's about 7 feet deep, so we're gonna try fishing from this hole.
Chiseled another hole, so now Paige and I are both jigging in our separate holes. Not too far apart though. We're both about at the same depth. She's at about 7 feet, I'm about 6 feet here. And we haven't had much yet, no bites, we don't think. Paige might have had one. Unfortunately, we didn't catch any fish, but it's starting to get dark, so we're packing up. We're gonna head back to camp because we still have our normal camp chores like gathering firewood. So back to camp.
For dinner, we made sun-dried tomato pasta with some artichokes and a veggie sausage and Gouda cheese. It's real Gouda.
Yeah. It's good. This hot toddy is hidden in the spot. And we're gonna play one more game of Uno tonight to settle the tiebreaker. I won the game last night, and Paige won the first night.
First one to 250 points wins. Pick up 2 and change it to yellow.
Last day, We've started packing up, and you're probably wondering who won the game of Uno last night.
Alec beat me 250 to 196, but I made a solid comeback from 28 points. We were tied 196 to 196, and in the last round, he won. Well done.
Thank you, thank you. Ooh, it's chilly. Even though the snow around here is packed down hard, out on the lake, because there's so much slush, I like to wear my snowshoes all the time. Our water hole is all the way out here. It takes a little bit of a snowshoe from shore over there to get out here. But this is how far we had to go to get like 8 feet deep. So it must be pretty marshy close to shore. There's quite a bit of wind out on the lake, so it's blowing in while our trail and all the holes as well are full of snow. I didn't bring the shovel, so I'll just use the slush scooper. Not that much snow though. Hole's definitely frozen back over. I made this hole nice and big so you could easily put the pot in. Sun feels good. Well, I shouldn't stay out here too much longer. I told Paige I'd be only fishing for about 15 minutes. It's probably been half an hour now. The longer I wait though, the more packing up she does. So hopefully, by the time I'm done fishing, maybe she's loaded up the toboggans or started to take down the tent. We'll see. Alright, I'm calling it quits. So I thought I'd tell you a little bit about our stove setup. Well, first of all, as you can see, the kni-co's rust on here. This is just surface rust, and the way I deal with rust on my stoves is I use stove polish, and I apply that every now and then when the rust starts to build up. I'll probably do it after this trip.
Would you use a like steel wool or something on there first?
Yeah, so I'll use a wire brush first to scrape off any like bigger chunks, and then I'll apply the polish. And that's what I do for managing the rust. For any of you who own kni-co stoves, let me know in the comments what you do to deal with the rust. I'm curious. So with a trail stove like the kni-co, dealing with snow melt is part of the game. And so first we obviously pack down the area with our snowshoes everywhere where the tent is going to be. And then what we like to do with all our wood is stack it around the stove to prevent melt on the sides. And as well, underneath the stove, right down here, we have a heat reflector, which stops the snow from melting underneath the stove. When we first started hot tenting, we didn't use a reflector under our stove, and you'd end up with a huge pit, which was okay because we'd still use legs to, or logs to support the stove, but it's better to use a reflector, especially if you're going to be base camping like we did on this trip for 4 days. And we didn't have to move the stove once or do anything with it. It did, I'm sure, shift a bit, but really it has barely moved on this trip over the course of 4 days, and the temperature's been fluctuating quite a bit as well. With the kni-co stoves from Snow Trekker, they come with these snow float legs, which are just brackets that are welded on. So the advantage of those is you can slide the logs right through the loop on either end, and it holds the stove up. And then what I also like to do is put another log going perpendicular to those two logs in the front and back, which also gives the stove more float. On our other Alaskan stove, which we didn't buy from Snow Trekker, it doesn't have these snow float legs, so you just end up putting the logs basically under the legs and can do the same thing. So yeah, that's kind of what we do to stop the stove from sinking into the snow. We've got the toboggans all loaded up. We just are going to strap on our snowshoes and then get out of here. One of the annoying things though today was that we couldn't take apart our two-piece chisel. It normally ices up the joint, but when you empty out the stove, you can use the coals to sort of de-ice it, and so you can untwist it. But today we were trying to like de-ice it and holding it over the coals for about 5 minutes or so, and we still couldn't untwist it. So now it's going to sit on top of our toboggan. I'm sticking out the back a little bit so we can still access my milk crate. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it's going to go. So we have another kilometer or so to bushwhack through the forest, but we're following the trail we took in, so that won't be too difficult. And then a little ways down an unmaintained road, or I should say unplowed road, but there's snowmobile trails down there. So it shouldn't be too much harder of a haul out of here.
We don't know, but this might be our last hot tent trip for the season. We don't know what winter has in store for us, so if it happens to be our last, it's been good, but we just look forward to the next adventure. We'll see you guys later.
I hope you guys enjoyed this adventure, and if you did, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching.